Hello, and welcome to Communicate to Lead, the podcast that empowers leaders and aspiring leaders to communicate with clarity and impact. I'm Keely Belton, CEO and successful entrepreneur, and your host for today. I'm here to equip you with all the essential tools and strategies to master effective communication and lead your team to success. As the founder and CEO of The Tailored Approach, my goal is to empower you to be the best leader you can be. So sit back, relax, and join me in today's episode as we dive into the art of communicating like a true leader.
Imagine it's 4:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in early December. You're staring at your inbox and there are 17 emails marked urgent, year-end deadline. Your calendar looks like a game of Tetris gone wrong. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a little voice whispering, I could have prevented this. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. The chaos you'll experience in December is being created by the yeses you're saying right now in October. I'm Keely Belton, and you're listening to Communicate to Lead, where we talk about the communication and leadership skills that actually move the needle in your career. And today, we're talking about one of the most powerful leadership tools you have at your disposal, the strategic no. So let me ask you something. How many times in the last week have you said yes to something when every cell in your body was screaming no? Maybe it was that committee you didn't have time for, or that quick project that you know won't actually be quick, or the can you just request that turned into a 3-hour rabbit hole. And here's what happens. You say yes because you don't want to seem difficult or unhelpful, or like you're not a team player. You say yes because saying no feels uncomfortable, maybe even a little risky. But here's what I've learned after years of coaching women leaders. Every yes you give away without strategy is a piece of your bandwidth that you'll desperately need when it actually matters. October is when those year-end projects start trickling in. By November, it's a flood. And by December, you are underwater, wondering how you got here. But you don't have to live that way, at least not this year. Today, we're going to talk about how to say no strategically, not as an act of selfishness, but as an act of leadership. Because protecting your bandwidth isn't about being difficult. It's about being deliberate. By the end of today's episode, you're going to have a framework you can use immediately, not some theoretical concept you'll think about later, an actual tactical approach to filtering requests so you can end the year strong instead of exhausted. Let me tell you why October is the make or break month for your Q4 success. Think of your bandwidth like a budget, because that's essentially what it is. You have a finite amount of time, energy, and mental capacity. And just like with money, if you don't budget it intentionally, you'll wake up one day wondering where it all went. Here's the pattern I see play out every single year. In October, requests feel manageable. Someone asks you to join a year-end initiative and you think, sure, I can squeeze that in. Another person needs your input on a strategic plan and you think, it's just a few meetings. Your boss mentions a special project and you think, how hard could that be? But here's the thing. None of these requests exist in isolation. They are cumulative, and they are coming at you while you're also trying to close out your own goals, prepare for the holidays, and maintain some semblance of work-life balance. I learned this lesson the hard way many years ago. I was riding high on a successful Q3. I felt invincible. So when October rolled around and the requests started coming in, I said yes and yes and yes again. By mid-December, I was running on fumes. I had delivered on everything I committed to, technically, but the quality, not my best work. My relationships strained. My energy for January planning was essentially non-existent. I had spent December in survival mode instead of strategic mode. And here's the kicker. Most of those things that I said yes to, they weren't actually aligned with my goals. They were aligned with other people's goals. They were good goals, important goals even, but they were not my goals. That's when I realized saying yes to everything is actually a failure of leadership. Because leadership isn't about doing all the things. It's about doing the right things, the things that matter, the things that move the needle forward. Think about your bandwidth like a smartphone battery. When you start the day at 100%, every task, every meeting, every decision drains a percentage. Some things might just drain 2%. Some drain 20%. The problem is most of us don't stop to assess the cost before we commit. We keep downloading apps, streaming videos, and leaving everything running in the background. And then we are completely shocked when we hit 3 p.m. at 8% battery with 6 more hours to go. October is your chance to delete some apps before you even download them. How does that sound? Okay, here's the framework I want you to walk away with today. I call it the 3-filter decision system, and it's going to change how you evaluate every single request that comes your way. When someone asks you for your time, your expertise, or your bandwidth, you are going to run it through 3 filters: the alignment filter, the capacity filter, and the impact filter. Let's break each one down. The first filter is the alignment filter. This is your first line of defense, and it's simple. Does the request align with my top 3 priorities for Q4? Notice I said top 3 priorities, not 10. If you have 10 priorities for Q4, you have 0 priorities. So before October is over, you need to get crystal clear on your top 3 professional goals for the quarter. Maybe it's closing out a major project. Maybe it's hitting a revenue goal. Maybe it's developing your team. Whatever they are, write them down. Put them somewhere you can see them every single day. Now, when a request comes in, ask yourself, does saying yes to this help me achieve any of my top 3 priorities? If the answer is no, or even kind of, you have your answer, and your answer is no. Here's an example. Let's say one of your Q4 priorities is to complete a strategic plan for your department. Then someone asks you to join a cross-functional task force on office sustainability. And you might be wondering, is sustainability important? Absolutely. Does it align with your top 3 priorities? No. So that means that is your strategic no. That is filter 1, the alignment filter. So here's the second filter, the capacity filter. Even if something passes your alignment filter, you still need to ask, do I realistically have the bandwidth for this? This is where most of us get tripped up because we evaluate capacity based on today's workload, not next week's reality. Here's what I want you to do. Look at your calendar for the next 8 weeks, not just your meetings, your actual deliverables. What's due, what's in progress, what's about to land on your desk. Now add up those hours and be honest with yourself. That quick project isn't going to take 2 hours. It might take 6. That simple review includes prep time, meeting time, and follow-up time. If adding this new commitment puts you over your sustainable capacity, it's a no. And your sustainable capacity, in case you're wondering, it's not 60 hours a week. It's the amount of work you can do while still maintaining your health, your relationships, and your sanity. So that's filter 2. Here's the final and third filter, the impact filter. So let's say something passes both the alignment and capacity filters. You have one more question to ask before you say yes. And this question is, what's the real impact if I say no? This is where you separate the truly important from the falsely urgent. Because here's what I have learned. Very few things are actually as urgent or critical as people make them sound. So ask yourself the following questions. What happens if I say no? Who else could do this? Is this actually urgent, or does it just feel that way? And lastly, will this matter in 3 months? Sometimes the impact of saying no is genuinely significant. But more often than not, I've realized the impact is minimal, and someone else can probably step in and do that task or request. So here's how this plays out in real life. A request comes into you and you run it through filter 1, which is your alignment filter. If it passes, then you run it through your second filter, which is your capacity filter. If it passes the second filter, It's time to run it through the third filter, which is your impact filter. Once you run it through those three filters, you have your decision. The beauty of the system is that it takes the emotion out of the equation. You're not saying no because you're mean or unhelpful. You are saying no because it doesn't pass your strategic filters. That, my friend, is leadership. Okay, so you've decided to say no. Now comes the hard part, actually saying no. Or maybe you are like one of my clients who is very comfortable saying no. I know a lot of the women I work with struggle to say no. I know on occasion I have struggled to say no. So if you struggle to say no, then you want to pay attention, because here's the thing. It's not simply about saying no. It's about saying no in a way that maintains relationships, demonstrates your leadership, and keeps doors open for the future. I'm going to give you a simple formula that works in almost any situation. Acknowledge plus explain briefly plus offer alternative equals your strategic no. So I'll say that again. Acknowledge plus explain plus offer an alternative is equals to your strategic no. Let me show you how this works. Here's the first example. You get a project request, and here's what you're going to say if your answer is a no. I really appreciate you thinking of me for this initiative. I can see why this work is important. Right now, my bandwidth is committed to, and then mention a specific priority. And I need to protect that focus to deliver the results we need. Have you considered reaching out to, and then mention a colleague's name? They have expertise in this area and might have more capacity. See what happened there? You acknowledged the request, explained your boundary without over apologizing, and offered an alternative. It's clean, professional, and strategic. Here's another example, the meeting invite. You get a meeting request and you run it through the three filters and your answer is no. Here is what you can say. Thank you for including me in this discussion. To be most helpful, could you help me understand what specific input you need from me? I want to make sure my time adds value. And if there's a way I can contribute without attending the full meeting, maybe providing written feedback or joining for simply the relevant portion, that would work better for my current commitments. This is a beautiful technique because sometimes you don't need to say the full no. You simply need to say no to the way the request was framed, and you offer up an alternative of how you can say yes. Here's a final example, and we all get this. The quick request, somebody hits you up, whether it's via email, whether they call you, or they talk face-to-face, and they ask you a quick request. And here's what you can say. I wish I could help you with this right now, but I'm at capacity with commitments I've already made. If this can wait until specify a specific date, I'd be happy to revisit it then. Notice you're not saying, I'm too busy. That sounds like an excuse. You are saying, I'm at capacity with commitments I've already made. That's a strategic resource management tool. So there you have it, 3 examples and 3 templates or scripts that you can use and tweak to make your own. Here's what I need you to understand. Saying no strategically isn't about being rigid or unhelpful. It's about being reliable. Think about it this way. Would you rather be someone who says yes to everything and delivers mediocre results at the last minute? Or would you want to be someone who says yes selectively and delivers exceptional results on time? Your reputation isn't built on how many things you say yes to. It's built on the quality of the work you deliver on the things that matter most. I'm not going to lie to you. The first few strategic no's are going to feel uncomfortable. You might feel guilty. You might worry about what people will think. This is completely normal. But here's what happens when you stick with it. People start respecting your boundaries. They stop sending you every random request. And when you do say yes, people know it means something. So start small. Practice on lower stakes requests. Build your muscle and watch what happens to your bandwidth, your impact, and your year-end sanity. All right. We are not going to let this be one of those episodes where you feel inspired for 5 minutes while you're listening to the episode, and then nothing changes. You are going to take action this week, starting today because your Q4 matters. So here's your step 1. Define your top 3 Q4 priorities. Do this today. Block 30 minutes on your calendar right now. Sit down and get crystal clear on your top 3 priorities for Q4. Write them down, make them visible. These become your alignment filter. Step 2, audit your current commitments and do this by Friday. Look at everything you've already said yes to. Run each commitment through your 3 filters. Be honest with yourself. Are there things you need to renegotiate or gracefully exit? It's better to have that conversation now than to fail to deliver in December. That's step 2. So here's step 3. Create your no templates and do it this weekend. Doesn't have to be long. They can be short and quick. Write out 3 to 5 versions of your strategic no using the formula I gave you. Customize them for your style and your context. Feel free to use your favorite AI tool, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. Put those words in there, tweak it until it resonates with how you would say something. Then save them somewhere accessible so when a request comes in, you are not scrambling to find the right words. You know exactly what to say. That's step 3. Finally, step 4, practice this week. When the next request comes in, and it will, pause before you respond. Run it through your 3 filters. If it's a no, use one of your templates. Notice how it feels. Adjust as you need to. I'm going to challenge you to do something. Between now and November 1st, practice saying 1 strategic no per week. Only 1. Build the muscle. Protect your bandwidth. Because the reality is, the version of you who ends the year strong isn't the one who said yes to everything. It's the one who said no to what doesn't matter, so she could say a powerful yes to what truly does. So let's bring this home. You have a choice to make right now. In October, you can keep saying yes to everything that comes your way and hope it all works out. Or you can be strategic, protect your bandwidth, and set yourself up for a Q4 that ends with accomplishment instead of exhaustion. The art of the strategic no isn't about being difficult. It's about being deliberate. It's about recognizing that your time, your energy, and your focus are your most valuable leadership assets. And you have both the right and the responsibility to protect them wisely. So here's my final question for you. What's one thing you need to say no to this week? And speaking of ending the year strong, next week, we're talking about something that most people get completely wrong, your annual review. Because here's the thing, if you wait until December to document your wins, you've already lost. Your annual review isn't happening in December. It's happening right now in October. So you want to make sure that you are documenting your wins as they are happening. So next Thursday, I'm going to show you exactly how to start capturing your wins, organizing your impact, and positioning yourself for success before the year-end chaos hits. Because the leaders who advance, they are not the ones who did all the great work. They are the ones who can articulate the great work they did. So make sure you are subscribed to the show so you don't miss this episode. It's going to change how you approach your year-end conversations. Until next Thursday, my friend, I am Keely, reminding you that great communication is the foundation of inspiring leadership. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember to communicate to lead.